Hello friends, welcome to JavaEE EJB JPA tutorial. Now you are watching part 2 of the subseries message driven bean. In this video we will learn the basics of long running task. So we will study the problem first. What happens when we use a stateless session bean and expose a long running method through it. Then how we can rectify the browser session hang using the message driven bean and JMS. So as already told, these two are not part of the prerequisite. Mistakenly it was kept here. In the last video we learned the basics of JMS. Then we learned the basics of a message driven bean. Then we learned basics of message driven bean. Now let us see what happens when there is a long running method in a session bean. Let's say we have a web form and the web form contains name, weight and book shipment button. So this will be a submit button and these two will be some user input field. And let's say this book shipment is a website which allows free shipment of goods from one location to another location. So let's say during the festival season you can make a parcel and you can gift it to your friends. Let's say during the Christmas period some website is offering this service. So the site which is offering this service will have contact to many travel agencies. Once you specify your name and weight and other details, so for simplicity purpose that's not given here, you can go for book shipment and travel. The website will have a link to a lot of travel agencies and the site will contact and book a vehicle for free shipment. But let's say that this process takes some time. So it may be 2 hours, 3 hours or even 2 days. So based on your book shipment or shipping date, the site will respond back. But definitely the book shipment will take 2 to 3 hours to get a shipment ID. So let's assume like that. Let's say the user will get a shipment ID of 2376. So using this shipment ID, they can make a call to a specific vendor and they can get the appointment for the delivery of good. So that's not important. So what we can, just to get a background, I just told like that. So the book shipment, getting a vehicle shipment ID will take some time. So let's consider like that. It may take 2 to 4 hours. So in our example we will mimic that as a long running process with 20 seconds. So what happens once a user clicks the book shipment, the browser session will wait for this 20 seconds. After the ID is received, user can navigate to the any other link or the page becomes responsive, or for 20 seconds it will be unresponsive. Alright, let's say what happens when user clicks the book shipment. So let's say once they click book shipment, it goes to the, so let's consider this as a web container, Wildfly middleware, and we will also assume there is a message, stateless session bin. So bkship is the method, let's assume like that, and the book shipment will make a call to a bean. Let's say bean is xy and exposed method is book shipment, and we will assume that this book shipment takes 20 seconds. Or in real world, let's assume it will take 3 to 4 hours. So the book shipment call, since it is taking too much of time, there will not be any response given to the browser, or response goes after 20 seconds. So, or in real world after 2 to 3 hours. So it's meaningless to wait on the browser session for 3 to 4 hours, right? Why? Because here method call is made and this method is taking 20 seconds or 3 to 4 hours. So here itself you can realize that this is not a correct way of implementing it, right? So that's the problem with the session bean methods. So session bean methods are for quick running task. So usually this will take input from the servlet or JSP or other means, then it will perform a server side processing. After that it will send back the result. So if such a processing takes place, or such a processing get finished within 2 to 3 seconds, then that's good for the round trip, right? So user will do something, they may wait 1 or 2 seconds or 3 seconds and they get their book shipment, or they get their response. Alright, now let's see how we can avoid this using the message driven bean. That means once they click book shipment, we have to return immediately, not the user no need to wait for 3 to 4 hours, since the server returns immediately. Alright, now so this is a stateless session bean. Now let's consider the same browser session. So here what happens, this will be the browser which is displaying the form. Once a user clicks the book shipment button, so here if you see, instead of accessing the remote interface and bean method, here we are sending a message. That means the browser through JSP or a servlet, let's say it is sending the message. So there will be some intermediate layer which we won't specify here, and the servlet or JSP, instead of using the stateless bean, it is sending the message directly to the JMS. Let's say so the browser session sends a message to JMS layer in the Wildfly, and to the queue it is adding the message. So This message contains the information of booking person name as well as the shipment requirement, like how much is the weight and shipping address, so those details, right? So here the message is written into the queue. Let's say there is a message driven bean which is subscribed to this queue. So what happens, the JMS here, the JMS API or the JMS implementation of Wildfly will pick the message and delivers it to the MDB. So MDB will have a routine on message and it retrieves the message will get delivered to the on message from the queue. So let us look at here in the send message perspective. Here this is the producer, right? Message producer, and here it is the consumer. So in the previous video we talked about the MDB, right? Message driven bean plays the role of a consumer. So JSP or servlet will put a message to queue or topic. Then the MDB, message driven bean, will receive the message delivered by the JMS. So the JMS API or JMS implementation of the vendor will pick the message from the queue and it delivers it to the subscribed message driven bean. So message driven bean with the help of a handler function will receive the message, right? So let's come to this once again. What happens here after writing the, here it is sending the message, right? Here inside JMS will write the message to the message queue and it will immediately returns. So once user clicks the book my shipment, send message, I mean there is a producer, either a JSP or a servlet will act as a producer and it will write the message to the message queue. So it will also return immediately and you will get a response stating that messages or your request is received. Please wait for 2 to 3 days to get the response, or check your email, or the response may provide a link. Check this link later after 3 hours so that you will know the status of your booking response. So after 3 to 4 hours it may state that your shipment is booked, this is the booking ID, or because of traffic the shipment cannot be done in next 2 days, so try after 1 week. So likewise there may be a response, but here what response they immediately get is we received your shipment request, so please wait for 1 or 2 days, or click this link, or go to your login and check a specific link to know the shipment status. So such a response the user will get immediately. Alright, what happens here on the other side, JMS, it have queue, right? It may not process the message posted immediately. Let's say the queue message is here and there are 10,000 queues on a specific area. So the JMS will deliver one by one. Here the processing will take place. And in the previous video we told that MDB is a stateless bean. So the Wildfly also may span multiple MDBs to process the request, right? So once a message is received, here this is the consumer, right? So as part of processing the message, it still depends on the stateless bean. So we already saw that a stateless bean contains a method of book shipment, right? So this is the method we talked in the previous slide. It may take 20 seconds in our simulation model, or in real world it may take 2 to 3 hours. So here, while processing the message, the MDB knows that booking person name is this, and the net weight is this, and this is the address location. So such information the consumer knows, and using this it will parse the information and it will make a call to book shipment. And here the on message may wait for 20 seconds. So 20 seconds, and browser session, the browsing user doesn't know that this is a long running task. Why? Because they got their response immediately, and the response states that we received your request for the free shipment and check back later by means of a email or some other communication. But here the browser session is not hanging. But what is hanging is the MDB's on message handler. Here the long running task is moved from moved in the sense since the browser is not directly calling it, it is moved to the MDB. So MDB is making call to book shipment. Still the same stateless session bean is taking the time, but call is from on message, not directly through the servlet or JSP. See, servlet or JSP is acting as a producer, and it is writing the message to the queue, and the response or the server will reply back immediately, because this is not a long running task, right? So here we are just writing the message to the queue and we are immediately returning it. But internally, JMS through on message handler picks the message, then parses the message and makes a call to the stateless session bean, which has a method book shipment, and that takes more time. Alright, so once the processing is done here, the book shipment will communicate in different means. Say for example, it may send SMS to the user. So that means here in the message itself they should provide the phone number, or email. It may send an email to the user. That means as part of the message body itself, the user should provide their email, or a DB update. So DB update means here as part of the response we will be providing a link, and while user accessing that link, it will be writing to some DB, right? The same DB will accessed by this link. So new response goes with the information. So all this stuff takes place in the on message processing. Alright, so in this example, in this sub-series, we are going to create the same model. So what we will do, we will create a JSP which will act as a message producer. Then we will create this stateless session bean. We already have one stateless session bean. When we started this EJP course, that time we created something called hollow bean, I guess. So there itself we will add some method, time consuming method with a thread.sleep, something like that. And so JSP one part, then here we will write MDB, the stateless session bean. That takes more time. After that we will go with message queue JMS, and we will subscribe to this queue using the MDB. So the next coming videos flow in this direction. So far our wildfly doesn't have any JMS queue. That means we need to create a queue, and we will name this queue as a shipment queue or shipment request, whatever it is. So there may be plenty of client who is posting such a request, right? Since it's a festival season and free shipment goods delivery, there may be more people using it. So okay, so this is the queue we will create. Shipment request queue will be a meaningful name because multiple people placing their request. So shipment request queue, MDB will read that queue, JSP will produce that message, MDB will consume that message. And here we are not going to do send SMS, email or DB update. What we will do, we will write some console message so that in the Eclipse itself we will see the shipment ID. So no demo here, and we will start our implementation from next video onwards. Thank you for watching. Bye.